The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet. And by BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Our listeners get 10% off your first month. So give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/FURLONG.
With the 41st Breeders' Cup on the horizon, I am delighted to say that we are joined by a special guest, the man who is the most successful international trainer in Breeders' Cup history with 18 wins and counting. Aidan O'Brien, welcome back to the Final Furlong.
How are you, Mr. Thank you very much.
This time last year we were talking about the prospect of City of Troy going for a Breeders' Cup Classic, and now it is very much in sight. How is the preparation going with them?
Yeah, good. Everything went good so far. Obviously everybody knows he was in Southwell and came back, and his work has slowly built up. So everything has went very good so far. He's the last bit to do tomorrow. But so far so good, really.
I know that that's become a tradition now to head over to Southwell, and it's obviously worked very well in the past. What did you learn from him that day about the surface? I know it's going to be a very, very different surface at Delmar, but what were you able to learn from that experience?
We knew the surface would be different. It's different surface than obviously he's raced on only grass, but he seemed to cope with it no problem. And really, they either adopt or they don't. I think really, obviously we were never going to have time to train him out there. He'd go out there and he'd do maybe 3 or 4 days cantering on it. That's as much as he's going to know. The kickback you won't really know until he races on it. But I think in an ideal world, you hope that he's not in a position that he gets too much kickback. But that'll depend on obviously how he'll break and how the race will work for him. So a lot of stuff obviously we don't know. It'll be all new to him. But obviously we're hoping.
You've gone close in the Classic before. Declaration of War ran a massive race. Henry the Navigator, obviously, that was a synthetic track, but he went super close. And Giant's Causeway in that epic duel with Tisnow. Your first Breeders' Cup winner was Johannesburg in the Juvenile. And I just wonder, is there any similarities that you see between Johannesburg with his dirt performance and Giant's Causeway with the stride and the running style that City of Troy has?
Yeah, I suppose City of Troy would probably move more like Giant's Causeway than Johannesburg. Johannesburg had a little kind of a roundy, grabby action, where Giant's Causeway had a big, long striding action like City of Troy. City of Troy is obviously probably a little bit more class than the Giant had, but he has the same kind of a big open stride and does get the trip obviously very well. Obviously City of Troy went as far as 1.5 miles, where Giant's Causeway only really went 1.25 miles. So I suppose obviously Justify was a big open long striding horse as well, and obviously City's out of Galileo Mare, and that's the way he moved as well. So probably City is kind of exactly what you would expect from his mum and dad, which always doesn't happen, but obviously when the boss did the mating, that's what he would have been hoping for, and that's what has happened here. But obviously that doesn't always happen.
I think if you'd said after he was beaten in the Guineas that he would be favourite on both sides of the pond, morning line favourite in America and favourite over here for the Breeders' Cup Classic, I think people would have just said that's insane. But it's been this remarkable rise, and the fact that he's been able to defy expectations in the past. I believe he's the first horse ever to win the Derby, the Eclipse and the Juddmonte in the same season. It's not just that your own expectations are there, it's the fact that the market on both sides of the pond are also expecting him to go and do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that about the 3 races, but obviously because he's by Justify, and obviously he was so exciting last year, and I suppose he always captured everybody's imagination. We always felt he was the best that we have had, and obviously, like you said, it went wrong first time, but it didn't go perfectly any other time since, but he was still able to get the job done, if you know what I mean. So we think we haven't seen the best of him yet, but obviously it's going to be very tough. And hope and see, hopefully when he gets out there he freshens up, and he's not going to be doing much. So it's hopefully going to be exciting anyway to see what does happen.
I know you don't want to give away too many tactics, but do you feel like for him to be at his best he needs to be prominent, or at least on the front end?
I think obviously it's very straightforward really. The gates will open and Ryan will obviously ride him forward, but he'll see how forward that is. Obviously the pace of our races won't be anything like he'll have when he goes there. The pace he's going to experience there, so it's going to be fast and furious, very hot pace. And obviously the Classic is obviously the toughest race on any thoroughbred probably ever. It's older horses, it's dirt, and it's furious usually all the way, so Ryan will decide all that when the gates open. He'll see where he's drawn, where he lands, and what way he plays it then. He's a big, long, open striding horse. He's very happy to make the run, and he's very happy to sit third, fourth, fifth, wherever. So hopefully we get him there well. He's over the next few days, and then he freshens up well, and he has a nice break, and hopefully he's in some kind of a nicey straw. And I suppose we just have to wait and see what happens after that.
This time 2 years ago, you were telling me you changed things. You were sending your horses to America that little bit earlier. You replicated that in Dubai as well, and it obviously worked out very, very well. Is that the same policy this year? We're recording this on Thursday, the 24th. When do they all head out stateside?
The plan is that he'll go on Saturday. Other years we would have went Tuesday and Wednesday and that kind of stuff. So we're going a little bit earlier than we used to. We'll have all the main work done. Hopefully he will have come out of it, and then if that is the case, he'll fly on Saturday. He'll be in quarantine for 2 days, and then he'll go on the track on Tuesday morning. So he'll have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday catching on the track.
So we'll get to see the Ballydoyle battalions striding out, doing the track work, which is always a great sight. 18 is your largest ever contingent to the Breeders' Cup, Aidan. Have you finalised the team?
Yeah, I think we're just listening to obviously all happening at the moment. So I think it's 13 are going to end up going in the juvenile sprint. It looks like Whistle Jacket, Idols of March, and then in the fillies it looks like Lake Victoria and Heaven's Gate, and then in the colts juvenile Henry Matisse. So that's 5 on the Friday, and then on the Saturday it looks like Aesop's Fables won't be going. In the turf Luxembourg. And then in the fillies, it'll be Wingspan, Ylang, and Content. Now, one of those could run in the turf with Luxembourg, so I suppose that'll have to be decided later. And then it looks like City of Troy, obviously, in the Classic. And then in the mile, it looks like Diego, Velasquez, and River Tiber. So some of them, John was checking them all there this evening, John Halley. So the problem is some of them, the vet checks are fairly rigorous in America at the moment, which is right, because obviously the ground you race on is very fast and it's very unforgiving. And I suppose the vets are worried that some of the horses, if there is an abnormality in their gait, they won't take the chance to let them run. So that's fair enough, and they know more about their part of the world than we do. So the horses that are not going are maybe horses that had little things, or John might be happy that they wouldn't pass the vets over there, and it's easy not to send them, then go there and do a big hullabaloo about them getting not being passed by the vets, and they have their job to do, and that's fair enough. But we'd rather have all that kind of done on our side, and then what we send, hopefully we think should be okay.
Well, I know you took it really well when River Tiber was withdrawn last year. It'll be nice to see him back there this year. I'll come to him in a second. If you don't mind, I'll just race through those horses. Whistle Jacket, obviously the standout in form for the Juvenile Turf Sprint. He's been second in 2 Group 1s, but sandwiched in between those is a great performance in the Prix That form has worked out really well, with Rashabar going so close on Arc Weekend behind your horse, Camille Pizarro. How do you feel about him dropping back to 5 furlongs at Del Mar?
Yeah, we don't think it's any... Ryan was kind of thought last, he maybe should have let him go. He let him jump and maybe sat on him and restricted him a little bit, and the pace wasn't really fast enough for him in Newmarket. That's what he felt after. Obviously, Ryan is obviously always critical of if it doesn't happen for him, but I feel if he felt if he had went faster or stronger early, it might suit him better. And I'd imagine that's what he will do. Hopefully he'll have the pace to do that. Like, he looks like a big sprinter, obviously, for next year, and we think the experience will do him good, and hopefully he comes out, he has some kind of a draw, and he's able to lie up early, because it's a very fast, furious race, that really.
And to be fair, the horse who beat him is possibly going to be European champion 2-year-old now. He went on and won the Dewhurst afterwards. It does look like it's proper form. I think maybe people might take the impression that he was the shortest price favourite at Royal Ascot, the only odds-on favourite for the week. But actually, looking back on that race, maybe at the time it all just happened a little bit too quickly for him. Yeah, the same happened in Ascot, really. And Ryan felt that he was lazy and he was asleep, and he felt that maybe he should have went more forward. He did that at the Curragh in the Hinds, and another horse went with him, and it was very heavy ground, and he just got caught. But Ryan rode him forward in Deauville as well. So listen, it's to see, like, we feel that we haven't seen the best of him every day. So it will be interesting. And Ides of March looked a very exciting sprinting prospect in the Group 3 the last day in the Round Tower.
Yeah, he did. He's obviously a fast horse and it suits him sprint and distance, but whether he knows enough will be interesting. But we think the experience will do him good coming back for next year. But I'd say he probably is a sprinter, all right, but whether he knows enough to handle the pace of that race is another day. But the experience will do him good, especially when we're going anyway.
Juvenile Fillies Turf, Lake Victoria, unbeaten in 4, dual Group 1 winner. This might be a crazy thing to say, but I think she might be the best 2-year-old you've sent to the Breeders' Cup since Johannesburg.
Yeah, it's possible. She's very good, Emma. What she's done is incredible, really. She won a maiden over 7, went back for a trial over 7, and then went to the Migler over 7, held up, came from last, and then she went to Cheveley Park and made all. Like, it was an unbelievable performance, really. She looks very special. We think the experience will do her good. She seems to be in good form. She's a lot of speed. We'll find out about the mile, and obviously on she go and listen. She's won 2 Group 1, so she'll probably end up going to the Guineas next year without her run anyway. So she'll have plenty of time to recover. And yeah, but it's like what you said. She looks very good filly.
And Porta Fortuna for your son Donica ran a massive race in the Breeders' Cup last year, and then went so close to winning the 1,000 guineas. She's now the best 3-year-old filly, at least over a mile anyway, in Europe, and will have a serious chance of winning the mile. So it can do them really good to go out there and get that extra experience.
Yeah, experience is good for them always. It's like human beings. You can't beat travelling, and it really toughens them up, and mentally and physically they go into the winter with loads to think about. They don't be thinking about the wrong stuff. They're thinking about what has happened that year and what's happened most recently for them, really.
We should all head to the Breeders' Cup. Heaven's Gate has got plenty of experience, but a nice bit of class too. She'll be no back number.
No, we thought that she would be a good backup for the other filly if anything did happen. We always thought she'd get a mile. She's experienced. She's a good traveller. She's no problem running over 6 furlongs, and we always thought that she would get a mile. So she could be like if anything happened to other filly or she got in trouble or whatever. But we thought that she would be a good backup, and it wouldn't be impossible if it did happen.
And the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, Henri Matisse, there is no doubting the talent he has. It's just application, a little bit like myself, might be a bit of an issue. He ran all over the place in the Vincent O'Brien National Stakes, and I think the wheels just didn't spin the last day, but he's undoubtedly very talented.
Yeah, when he won his trial for the National Stakes, he went to the front and he jinked when Ryan gave him a backhander, and obviously he went to the National Stakes and he did the same thing. So then we said, listen, this horse needs a pair of blinkers. So it's probably mentally immature he is more than anything. Then we put the blinkers on him going to France. The ground was soft. He got sandwiched early, and it frightened the life out of him with the blinkers. So we think a combination of that and the soft ground, we didn't see anywhere near the best of him in France. We didn't know what we would do with him after that, whether we'd leave him alone, but he came out of the race so well, we decided it was probably the right thing to let him go take his chance, and it would toughen him up and give him experience and maybe knock some of that nonsense out of him that's there at the moment. So he's very well. We always thought he would get a mile, he's a classy horse. He's probably more classy than anybody thinks, really, I'd say.
Yeah, the horses you've tended to run in that race, I know Mendelssohn had gone close in the Dewhurst, but he didn't really look like winning it. He genuinely has looked like winning Group 1s. He is probably the best one you've sent there so far.
Yeah, we think he's a classy horse. Obviously, by Wooden Bass, he's a great mover. He should like the ground, and he definitely races like a horse that a mile should be no problem to him.
Yeah, very exciting horse. Really looking forward to seeing him in action on the Friday. I think he'll take a lot of beating. Breeders' Cup Turf. Anybody can tell us who they think is going to win this race, but nobody better qualified than you. The only person to win this race 7 times, to win any Breeders' Cup race 7 times, and you'll have some interesting prospects of winning it an 8th time. Luxembourg, it's his first ever American trip, but he's run well on foreign soil before, and that run in the Hong Kong Cup, narrowly beaten by a horse who's unbeaten in 3 Group 1 since. How has he been since his Irish Champion Stakes run?
Yeah, no, he's good. We always thought this race would suit him. Obviously, he's played second fiddle all year to different horses with us. But we always thought this race would suit him. He'd love fast ground. He'd love a mile and a half. He'd love a flat track. He's very well. His work is very good. And in all fairness to him, it's the first time all year that he's going there and getting the number 1 chance, really. So we're very happy with him. We think the race will suit him. And we're very happy with him.
That means he is going to be Ryan's ride?
I would imagine so, yes. We could run one of the fillies in that, or maybe run the 3 of them in the fillies. We'll discuss it with Ryan and see what the lads want to do, Emmett.
So that means Illinois is out of the race, is he?
Yeah, Illinois has a bit of a corn, and when John trotted him up this evening, he wasn't 100% happy with him, and he said that the vets in America might be looking at him through the kind of with a squinted eye. And listen, he's done a lot, and they would understand. But at the same time, there's no point in having to put people under pressure about making a decision like that when he's done plenty. He's loads of experience, and it's just actually half an hour ago we decided we'd leave him for this year, and look forward to him. He's going to be a lovely 4-year-old.
Well, I mean this with all respect, but last year's Breeders' Cup Turf was Augusta Rodan, Mostadaf, King of Steel. We just don't really have that this year, and I like Rebels Romance a lot, but no 6-year-old has ever won the race. Luxembourg is a Group 1 winner at 2, 3, 4 and 5. He's a serious player in a very open renewal.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Charlie Tosh is a good horse, and there's no doubt about that. But it's a competitive race always, and it's like those races are very hard to win. You think they might be not competitive, you'll try, but it's competitive. And listen, hopefully our horse will run a good race.
Fillies and Mares Turf, Ylang is a horse you've mentioned. I think she's a massive player here. It's been a stop-start season, but her run in the 1,000 Guineas was really good. Her run in the Matron Stakes was fantastic as well, and that form reads really, really well. How is she since Arc Day, and what happened that day?
Yeah, she's very well. We thought that this race was made for her after her run in Leopardstown. She's a bit slow away, but Ryan thought if she broke, she'd been right there. But in Arc Day, it was a bit messy. There was no pace, and I think Ryan got very tight early, and he gave his position away, he said. And he said when he did that, with the benefit of hindsight, it was the wrong thing to do. The pace went out of the race, and she found the ground very slow. So she found herself back on a slowly run race, and Ryan kind of accepted that very early. And he just went through the motions on it then, because he knew that she couldn't win. So she came back very well. She's doing everything right. She can be a little bit lazy in her work sometimes, so we put a pair of blinkers on her in the last couple of pieces of work, and she really came alive, to the point of maybe too much. So even though she's wore blinkers in her work recently, we might leave them off or on the race, because we think it's after waking her up. And we think the race will suit her. We think the trip will suit her, the track, the fast ground, everything. So it is possible that she could run a very big race.
I know fast ground was an issue for her before, but that was over a mile. A mile 3 will give her a real chance of getting that ground. And she shapes like a horse who will improve for going up in distance as well. Everything's made there for a huge run.
Yeah, she's a good mover, so fast ground should suit her. Like, if we always thought if we had an option of fast ground or soft ground, no doubt you'd prefer fast ground. She's a very sound filly, so it will be interesting, and it definitely is a race that could suit her.
Would she be Ryan's ride?
I think she will. Obviously, Wingspan ran very well the last day, but it was soft ground. It was slowly run 1.5 miles, and did run a big race. Contenders very well as well. She just got trapped back in Ascot, but the pace was very slow, and anyone that was held up in Ascot had no chance of getting into it, and the ground was very bad. So, but she came out of the race well. She's a lot of ability. She ran a huge race in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies last year. Was coming home very well, but I'd imagine Ryan will find it hard not to ride Ylang, I think, at the moment anyway. But obviously he won't decide until he really has to, and he sees their draws and all that kind of thing. But if I was betting man, I'd probably say he'll ride Ylang at the moment.
Yeah, we very much appreciate that pointing in the right direction, because she'll be a much shorter price than she is now. And just
but that's not obviously written in stone, because he always has the right to change his mind very late. But that's what I just think at the moment.
Subject to change, batteries not included, proceed with caution, all that malarkey.
Exactly.
The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet, where tradition meets cutting-edge technology, and with major flat racing festivals on the horizon and the new jump season about to kick off properly, it's time to leave behind the corporate bookmakers who don't value your loyalty. At this point, you've got to be fed up of their restrictions, endless affordability checks, and losing out on incentives just because you dare to win a bet. Jeff is the bookmaker fighting for your right to bet, giving you the freedom to enjoy British and Irish racing the way it should be, and you can watch all that racing on the Jeff Banks Bet app. So say goodbye to bookies who want you to lose your hard-earned money on their online casinos, and say yes to unbeatable odds and a bookmaker that truly values your custom, Jeff Banks Bet. Final Furlong podcast listeners who sign up to Jeff Banks Online using the promo code FFP500 can get 10% of any net losses returned as cash after your first month of betting up to £500. It's an offer you won't see anywhere else. Visit jeffbanks.bet today and enter promo code FFP500 and join the excitement. That's jeffbanks.bet using promo code FFP500 because your betting experience deserves more. This is a paid advertisement from BetterHelp Therapy Online. What are your self-care non-negotiables? Maybe you never skip leg day or therapy day. When your schedule is packed with kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you've no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. If you've ever been in therapy, then like me, you know how beneficial it can be. But it's not just for those who've experienced major trauma. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and setting boundaries. Therapy empowers you to be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a registered therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. With almost 5,000 therapists in the UK already, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise. Visit betterhelp.com/furlong today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/furlong. This is a paid advertisement by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/furlong to get 10% off your first month and get on your way to being your best self. Just very briefly on Wingspan, she didn't race at 2, but she's improved with every start, and she comes into this on the back of a career best effort. She's very exciting filly, beautiful pedigree too.
Yeah, and Shawnee thought that if he had an owner, he'd have went quicker in Ascot and she might have been closer, but ran a huge race. Progressive, every run has got better. We just have to decide whether we run her there or run her second string in the turf. So a turf obviously is a tough race, and listen, I suppose the next few days we can decide that.
And final race for you, Aidan, is the Breeders' Cup Mile, a race you've gone so close in over the years. You took it out in some style in 2020, landing the trifecta. Diego Velasquez, on pedigree, should appreciate much further. That's he's bred to do that, but he's really found his rhythm over a mile the last twice.
Yeah, it looks like he's a miler. We stepped him up in trip and it wasn't the right thing. Up to a mile and a quarter, I think he'll go, but any further than that's too far probably. But anytime he's went back, he's been more impressive. And obviously the last few times. So he's a lovely laid back horse. He can be ridden forward if he breaks and has a nice position. Like he could run a massive race. He's very well. Everything about him is right. So hopefully he's able to break with him and gets a position, and then hopefully he should run a very good race.
What would it mean to Aidan O'Brien to win the Breeders' Cup Classic with City of Troy?
Actually, it would mean everything to everybody here. Like obviously everyone in Coolmore, America, Australia, Coolmore in Ireland, and everyone at Ballydoyle. It's what everyone works so hard day in, day out for, and obviously for John, Sue, and Michael, and Doyle, and Gay, and Derek. It's everything really. Like obviously we've never done it. He would be 100% homebred. He's a horse that John went after and got in Justify, and listen, it would be incredible. But listen, it's a very tough ask, and it's like you're asking the horse to go race on a different continent, different track, different pace of a race. Everything is different. So obviously he'll have to be just very special for it to happen. So hopefully we get him there in the next few days in good shape. Hopefully he gets over there, and hopefully he freshens up, because he has had a tough time lately to getting ready for it. Because if he wasn't absolutely bulletproof, he wasn't going to win. So he has went through all the drills so far. He's another day to go tomorrow, and if he gets through that and he travels over well and freshens up, then hopefully he'll run a good race.
It's very exciting, Aidan. I wish you well. Please God, he comes home safe and sound, but hopefully he's coming home with the gold medal. Best of luck, Aidan, at Breeders' Cup 2024, and please God, we'll talk to you again early next year.
Yeah, please God, appreciate it, Emma. Thanks very much.
I hope you were taking notes, because Aidan O'Brien just gave us gold info on the Final Furlong podcast. Expect markets to move on the back of what he just said. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you liked it, likes, shares, and subscribes are much appreciated on the Final Furlong podcast YouTube channel, and for that matter, on your podcast app as well. We are back with more Breeders' Cup content and more National Hunt content very, very soon. Till then, look after yourself and each other. God bless.
The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet and buy BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Our listeners get 10% off your first month. So give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/FURLONG.